everyone, shalom, ciao, namaste. I am Ilana, aka Elmar Superstar, and welcome to my channel. This is PCP, Pop Culture Psychology. I've been wanting to make this video for quite some time, but I was really inspired by the new show on Amazon Prime called Utopia. And the timing on this is just so coincidental considering that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and the show revolves around this graphic novel that is potentially the key to solving their in-universe growing pandemic. So let's dive right in. The show was a little overwhelming, but aesthetically it worked. The score was good, the cinematography, the acting was decent. I actually really enjoyed seeing Rainn Wilson and John Cusack, and I've always felt that John Cusack is such an underutilized actor, as is his sister, so it's nice to see him get on an Amazon Prime show. My problem with the show was that there was not exactly a linear storyline and there was a big lack of character development. The female lead, Jessica Hyde, who in my opinion was nothing more than an apathetic vagabond psychopath. The other people in the group, her friends, are nothing more than pawns for her, victims of circumstance. Honestly, it's really hard to get behind what should be a strong female character when there is no emotional vulnerability or context or even a backstory. We get a bit of a backstory, but I feel like there should have been more. Utopia is actually a British show that has a huge cult following in the United Kingdom and was adapted for American audiences by Gone Girl writer Gillian Flynn. And you would think with her previous adaptations, such as Gone Girl and Sharp Objects, you would think that, you know, the ante would be up. And I just felt like the presentation with this show, really, the bar isn't set very high for this show, like it should have been. Hopefully the second season will be much better. Now that I've given my opinion on the show, let's get into the depths of fan fiction, as it is indicative in the pilot episode of the realities of it. It goes beyond just collecting every piece of memorabilia or being an extreme cosplayer, even though that is an integral part. There are stans, the diehard fans, that will go out of their way to apply the metaphors that they find in the works and make them adaptable to real life, or concocting their own metaphors within the stories. Then there's shippers who will support a relationship, or OTP, one true pairing, whether it is canon as seen in the show, such as Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen in Game of Thrones, or it is purely a fan fiction ship, such as Elsa from Frozen and Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians. That one is one of my personal favorites. As you can see in the pilot episode of Utopia, people really get into this, but at the same time, it's so interesting because some of them have been able to parlay it into careers with podcasts and shows and conventions. I've actually made some pretty good friends on FanFiction that I talk to this day, but I have met some nuts along the way. I actually started because I was hoping to become the next 50 Shades of Grey. As we can see, that didn't happen. It was a fluke that happened at all. I started writing fan fiction in around 2013 because I wanted to familiarize myself with writing in novel format, as I had been writing in screenplay format for such a long time. My very first fan story was a 3-chapter story for the show Once Upon a Time, but it wasn't until I adapted what I'm hoping to be my debut novel into the Total Drama fandom. Total Drama is an animated reality game show set in Canada, and it has quite a big following, and that was where my recognition in fan fiction was born. And I got so many great reviews, and that is definitely one of the pluses of fan fiction. You can build a following depending on when you post. It's very similar to YouTube, where you have to hit the algorithm just right for posting. But I have gotten some wonderful, very heartfelt reviews, and it is a good opportunity to receive constructive criticism. Another thing was that I became a beta reader, which is a fan fiction term for being an editor. So I was able to edit other stories in addition to doing some collaborations with other writers. That was super fun. And it just gave me such a sense of purpose, and I absolutely loved it. After I had wrapped up the Total Drama story, I decided to delve into other fandoms, such as The Walking Dead and the One Chicago franchise and Animal Kingdom. It was a lot of fun for me because As you know, my life is so inundated with pop culture, so I put in a lot of pop culture references. On the other hand, I know that there are some things that if I could go back and change, I totally would. They say that you're supposed to write the story for yourself, but at one point you are kind of writing it for the fans. And with some of these stories, my later stories, I was putting things in for my fans. I think because of that, I got sidetracked, and there are a lot of stories on there that I didn't finish, like to go back and complete, but I just don't think it's gonna happen. Another thing that I hate to admit that I was guilty of was having my female leads more or less be Mary Sue's. Mary Sue's are self-inserts that are perfect and have no flaws. I was called out on this a couple of times. I didn't really agree with it, but I can see where someone would think that. But I did make sure to give my female leads rich backstories. I think the problem that people had with it is that my female leads were brunettes, just like me. As I've given you the good parts of fan fiction, with the good comes the bad. One of the bad things is a lack of constructive criticism.
Say what?
Say what?
What? Say what again?
I'm sure that you probably think that I'm insane for saying that, but I do have a purpose behind it. When you're constantly receiving positive reviews and good feedback, it can somewhat make your growth as a writer stagnant. It can also give you kind of a big head. Neither one of those are a good thing. If you do get that constructive criticism, you are very lucky, but then there are times when you do get it and it really doesn't make any sense. Like someone will point something out and you as the writer know that that's exactly what you did, even though they're calling you out on it. And then other times they are just so full of nastiness and vitriol. By far, one of the worst parts of fan fiction, or any sort of medium where you can be creative, is definitely the trolls, which were part of the reason why I ended up stopping fan fiction. I was writing a story for the Animal Kingdom fandom, and about halfway through it, I completely jumped the shark and went off the rails with my story. I really regret this now, but it was my decision as the writer to do that, as it is anyone's decision as a writer to do what they feel is best for the story or what they want to do for the story. Even the slogan of fan fiction is unleash your imagination. And if we kept all the stories on fan fiction exactly like they are in the shows or the movies that we're watching, we might as well just watch that instead of reading fan fiction. Some people just get so ornate and creative with their takes on these universes. And then some are really kind of disgusting. And when I say that, I'm not talking about the writing, like that it's bad writing. I'm talking about that it gets dark. The Animal Kingdom story was definitely the beginning of the end for my fan fiction career of sorts, as the story started getting completely lambasted with troll comments, which then started going on all my other stories. I had a very suspicious feeling that the troll in question, the main troll, was someone that I had befriended on the site and somebody that I was doing beta reading for their story. As it turns out, I was right. Of course, when I called them out on it, they played the victim card on me. Not only was it them, but it was another friend of mine in the same fandom. These two in particular had some inflictions that fan fiction for them was an escape, as it definitely is for some people, but their real life backstories were starting to have a lot of contradictions and inconsistencies, and when I called them out on it, things just completely, it was a tailspin effect. And this pretty much turned out to be like high school. Not only did I find out that they were talking about me behind my back, they attempted to gaslight me with things from my own personal life. So I just, completely cut it off at the pass and moved on. However, they weren't as mature with this, and one of them even went to the point of not only contacting my other good friends in fan fiction, but also reaching out to my cousin, wanting to know exactly what happened and why I had stopped talking to them. So that in a nutshell is what really killed fan fiction to me, and I've been suffering from horrible writer's block ever since, which I am desperately, desperately trying to break. My last attempt at fan fiction was actually earlier this year. I had started writing a story for the show You, in which Joe Goldberg falls in love with an Indian girl played by Topeka Padukone. I put the first chapter on Archive of Our Own, and people really really seemed to like it, but then the pandemic hit and writer's block also kicked in very badly. I do want to pick it up again as I really liked the idea. If I'm being perfectly honest though, it seems like nowadays fan fiction is something of a dying medium. The fan fiction website itself needs a lot of work. It is very, very outdated. And I really don't even see anyone posting on fanfiction anymore unless it's for The Walking Dead or Harry Potter. Interestingly enough, it's Harry Potter that really is what kickstarted fanfiction in the first place and will always continue to be one of the highest fandoms. There are other websites to post on, including Wattpad, an archive of our own. I do have stories on there, and they seem to be more current with the times. That is going to be it for today's video. If you liked it, please be sure to give it a thumbs up, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next wave, all Martians. Bye!